So welcome everyone to this session. We've got four fabulous. Okay.
We're muting all attendees, so...
Thank you. That's great. So welcome everyone to this session. I don't know if my camera's not on at the moment, but there we go. So welcome. We've got four fabulous presentations for this next session today, and I'll just launch straight in so that we are keeping it to time. I'd just like to welcome Sarah Hanna and Jenny Atkinson and Claire Fontaine, who are going to be presenting about their work at the Nepean School. Just as an introduction, Sarah and Claire both work at the Nepean School, which is a government-funded specialist school for students aged 5 to 18 years with a physical disability or complex health impairment. There's a lot of noise still. That's not me, is it? Okay.
I'm muted. That was not helpful. I'm just going to ask attendees to keep yourself on mute, or else we get a lot of weird feedback. I will continue muting you if needed, but if you could just be on it yourself, that would be great. I am your tech help person. If you need help, you've all got my email address, and you can email me. I am Chloe Wine.
And sorry, Catherine, you're muted at the moment.
Now I'm just about to unmute myself. So keep going with that one. And also just to let people know that this session is being recorded. So by joining, you are giving consent to be recorded as part of that process. So just going on, the Nepean School is a school for children with physical disability and or complex health needs. Sarah and Claire have commented that they believe every person has the right to communicate and to be an active participant, learner and contributor throughout their life. And they are both speech pathologists who are experienced in AAC. Jenny is, the title is Use Both. She's on school holidays. Jenny's got had a lot of experience with keyword sign, and I'm actually not going to go through that whole process, but has also engaged with learning Auslan, has herself got 4 kids that she taught how to sign, and so has a lot of experience in this area. So I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Cathy. And I just want to check that Jenny is here because I can't see her. Are you here, Jenny?
I can see her. She's waving.
Oh, sweet. Great. So thanks, everyone, for joining us this morning, and for everyone who's watching the recording at a later date. Jenny, Claire and I are really excited to talk to you about our experience about implementing keyword sign in a school setting. So really quickly, we might just talk about our cohort. So Jenny, what's the cohort like at Kalamunda School?
Jenny, we can't see you very clearly. Claire, can you hear Jenny? Is it just me or?
No, it's not coming through. Jenny, if you can hear us, maybe you could try without your headphones. I'm not sure what's happening there. Maybe I'll just talk about the Nepean School cohort a little bit while Jenny's working on her sound. So Nepean School is a specialist school for primary and secondary students, and we've already introduced as having children with a disability or a complex health need. So 80% of the students at our school use an alternative sort of communication. So it's a really high priority for us to make a really rich AAC multimodal environment for all of our students. Maybe we can, are you there, Jenny?
Seems to be breaking up. I'll speak because Jenny, Claire and I caught up earlier, and it sounds like it's a similar cohort to Nepean. They're younger years though, and they use keyword sign to communicate across in their school as well. So maybe we can chat about now what the inspiration was to get keyword sign embedded in part of the culture across the two schools. So Claire, we had our moment of inspiration.
Yes, in 2019, Victoria was locked down and we were kind of inspired by the Agoski conference. They did a really great video of the song We're All in This Together. So we did a Nepean school version and we posted it on our student learning platform with how-to videos. We got some really great videos back from the students, and Sarah kind of had an epiphany that we could do more to embed keyword sign because we were already doing a lot, but it was clear that we could do more. So Sarah called me up and we both decided to kind of lead the charge with keyword sign and Nepean.
And I think like having the two of us supports it to keep it going, but a part of our Nepean motto is that we're all in together we achieve the extraordinary. So we've all done it together, and the kids and staff are the real inspiration, signing together, connecting everyone, peers signing to peers and seeing it happening in a real and meaningful purposeful environment really facilitates our inspiration to keep going. So Jenny, what was your inspiration at Kalamunda School? Have you been able to fix the mic and everything?
I think I have. Can you hear me?
Yes, you have. Yes,
great.
great.
Oh, good. Yep. I'll swap devices. So with us, our principal is huge on signing. And when I started at the school 10 years ago, she was already doing some keyword signs with the students. So then 3 years ago, it became we needed LOTE. So we did language other than English, and our principal chose to do keyword sign for it. So that's what got the big, huge keyword sign process going throughout our school.
Super.
But it was great coming from head down. The principals are all on board, which got it really going big time.
And I think that goes on to what we wanted to talk about next, where some of the key elements across both of the schools that we find keep the momentum going. And yeah, speaking to that first point about leadership support, Kalamunda School definitely has that. And at Nepean, Claire, we've got that too.
Yeah, leadership's really amazing in a lot of ways, but they support AAC in a really strong way. Keyword sign's part of our strategic plan, and they gave us a dedicated time, a dedicated hour every week to create resources for keyword sign and to keep the ball rolling. That's really essential to have that time. So we're really lucky in that way.
And in that time, we do sign of the week. We spend time doing that. That's something across both schools. So what's sign of the week like at Kalamunda School, Jenny?
So at Kalamunda this year, I'm focusing on an animal every week. So we're going through the alphabet. So we've just done like U for unicorn. It was rainbow coloured, and it makes us feel happy. So we always do a finger spelling a letter, an animal for the fringe words for those more competent signers, a feeling, a colour, and then a few extra words. So we do that, and then we put that out on Connect. So all the parents have access to it and all the staff have access to it, and we do all the cheat sheets for all the ASC users, the touch chat lamp as well. So those non-verbal kids are able to also speak and sign at the same time.
Yeah, that's great. And we've got quite a process for sign of the week too, Claire.
Yeah, we have a core word focus at the moment where I've also been doing zones of regulation, but we have a sign of the week that is put onto Microsoft Teams for staff and put onto our student learning platform, which is Seesaw, every week. We also have a sign of the week segment in each assembly, and we have digital signage. So we've got these big screens in the school that play the videos from Keyword Sign Australia of the sign of the week and videos that we've made sometimes. And we have just sign happening everywhere in the school. So, and the Nepean school song. So we have a version of our song that has lots of signs in it that plays in the assembly and plays in lots of our community events with everyone doing all of the signs in the video.
And teaching sign in groups is our next dot point there. And at Kalamunda School, you were mentioning about your LOTE subject. So can you talk about that, Jenny?
So we do keyword signers LOTE. So once a week, every Friday, I go to all of the Ed Support classes, well, 5 out of the 7 of them. I don't do the kindy and the pre-primary. They do their own keyword sign LOTE program because it's at a different sort of speed, I guess, to the rest of the Ed Support classes. So every Friday I spend 40 minutes in the 5 other classes, and we do a keyword sign lesson in which we incorporate the fringe words and the core words and an activity just to make it a bit more fun. And then we always finish with a little reward playtime where they also have to request, like, I want the dolls, or I want the cars, or whatever. So again, we incorporate the keyword sign into that. And then, of course, they've all got IEP goals written for each and every student. So because it is a subject that is being taught.
Yeah, great. Yeah. And at Nepean, Claire, we teach signs explicitly, just a little bit different.
Yeah, we've been in lockdown for a lot of the time, so we've been doing a lot of stuff on video chat. We've had a Teams group for staff. We've been learning the signs for Katy Perry's Raw, and we have a student sign group. People log in and just kind of see what the students want to learn. We'll have kind of a topic, but we'll also follow the children's lead and see what signs they're interested in and talk about those. And we also have a lot of resources online other than the sign of the week that people can use for their learning.
And I think following the kids' lead and using it in functional day-to-day life at Nepean is something that the school does really well. And you can see the belief that language is learned while you're busy doing life is something that Nepean just does so well. And we've just got a video here of a day in the life of Nepean. It's just a 1-minute video that we thought we'd show you. It's Summer chatting with her teacher Angie about what her literacy goal is, and both of them are great examples of the way we use multimodal communication, and keyword sign being one of them at Nepean School. So we'll see if we can get playing for you. Sorry. Claire, just the sound needs to be shared.
Sorry, I thought I'd actually managed to do that when I started screen sharing. I'll start it again.
Just to let you guys know, it is 10:17 and we do need to start the next one at 10:20.
Okay, perhaps we might not watch the video.
Thanks. Sorry.
That's
we
okay.
started a little bit late, so it would be great if you could just think about that in terms of managing the process. Thank you.
Yep, that's on me.
Can everybody see?
Yeah, yep. We can see the slide. So maybe we'll just, we can talk about the barriers and challenges. That
maybe just quickly, and then we can see if anyone has questions.
Yeah.
So we had a bit of confusion between keyword sign and Auslan, and we just made a little fact sheet to help people tell the difference between that. That was one of the things we did. And lockdown's also really hard. We just did our best and used video platforms as much as we could. Jenny, what was, you have a lot of...
For us, some of the main challenges that staff have is that all the kids, or most of them have devices, ASC devices. So like you've written there, the different devices that people have to learn, because obviously we want them to sign, but also use their ASC device as much as they can as well. So we've got like 3 or 4 different devices in every room pretty much. So the staff have to not only learn a sign, but also be able to model the pathways for each of those signs for all the students. So that's probably one of the main challenges as far as staff is concerned, that it's not just a sign they're learning 3 or 4 languages at the same time as well as the sign. So yeah, but we're getting there.
Definitely. So we've got time. Do we have time for questions, Cathy, or
1 or 2? Does anybody have any questions? So sorry, guys. This was not my most organised moment.
That's okay. If there's no time for questions, we do have 1 minute, and the video is only
let's have a quick.
Let's have a look at Summer and Angie.
Someone waving.
It is 10:20 now, guys. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, I think if we have an opportunity at the end, if people can ask their questions then. I see some people raise their hand. Just keep that thought, and we'll just go into the next session. Thank you so much for that presentation. It's so great to hear how people are just managing that process of really integrating keyword sign. And I think, you know, the sort of barriers that you've raised are one that are well known and shared in many situations. So it's great to sort of problem solve around that. So I'd like to go on to introduce the next person who's presenting, and that's Ashley Harling, who's a certified speech pathologist, passionate about communication access for all, and has been working in Indigo, which is formerly the Independent Living Centre in Western Australia, since June 2018. So that's allowed her to grow her passion for AAC and helping adults and children find their voice. So Ashley has attended her keyword sign presenter course in Perth and is still regularly delivering training and coaching on communication and AAC technology. So welcome, Ashley. I'm just, yay. There you are. So great to see you. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I would like to also acknowledge everyone who is joining from this side of the country. If you joined for the keynote, you would have been up at about 5:30 a.m. So welcome, everyone. And just wanted to acknowledge that commitment from everyone from around Australia, wherever you're joining from. So I'm going to present. If you just give me a moment to get that happening. Here we go. Cool. Is that coming up for everyone?
Yep, we can see that. Perfect.
Awesome. So what I was hoping to present today was just around the use of keyword sign with adults. There can be, you know, it is a really valuable strategy to use with children, and sometimes what I found with some of the resources is that it often tends to skew a little bit to the kids, and that can sometimes lead people to believe that it's just a strategy for children. And I work with different adults. I work with supporters of adults who can and do benefit from the use of keyword sign. And so what I was hoping to do today was just kind of, if you're a presenter or if you're learning or if you support someone who uses or an adult with keyword sign, just some ideas on how to do that in a bit of a age appropriate way, I guess, but also different things to consider when supporting people who do support adults. So with, I guess, looking at, always like the different learning models, but when we're looking at adults, we're really thinking about how can we make, because we're not only teaching the individuals, but we're also teaching the people who support them. So we're looking at really that logical information, making sure that they're active when they're learning, plenty of opportunities to practice, and really make it engaging, relatable, and giving them lots of opportunities for success. And definitely hearing that from lots of the other presentations today. If we can make it relatable and engaging for someone, that's going to be really important for their learning. Not just for our signers, but also for the people supporting them. One of the things that I'm frequently coming up against, well, not coming up against, but frequently coming across, is that a lot of adults who do use sign before maybe they have already used sign before, they may develop over the course of their life unique signs and gestures, and that might be just because of their own particular motor skills, or it might be what gets taught. Keyword sign, you know, it hasn't been around for forever, and so often people are coming with lots of different variety of things that they do. And one of the things that I really like to reinforce if I'm presenting, but also when I'm supporting people to use signs outside of that workshop perspective, is I never really want to force individuals to sign the way that I want them to. And if they use a particular sign, then if they want to continue using the sign that way, then I don't mind. I also want to reinforce that. Well, I want people to. Some of the things that I do is coach people on how to reinforce the communication attempt and acknowledge the message of the individual. Adults can, potentially they've got a lot of experience with communication failure. And one of the big things that I try and convey when I'm working with people who support adults is making sure that we can get as much communication success as possible, because we don't want to be adding to that communication failure, potentially 20, 30 years of communication failure. We want to inject as much success as possible. And even if people are using their own unique signs, I typically encourage people to use the accurate signs themselves, the same way that we would recast and model good language models when we're looking at younger children. This is not just for the individuals themselves, but for anyone else around them. So if I know that an individual uses a particular sign for a particular word, and there is a sign for that, I want to help other people learn the accurate signs, but also reinforce that message. So even if, not forcing someone to use the different signs, but using signs accurately so that they may choose to change, or they may, or it might help everyone else around them. One of the big things that I remember from the presenter training was, and even my own keyword sign workshop that I was doing, was the use of role play. And I really want to acknowledge that role play can be a really, really valuable form of active learning. It supports people to think about the skills that they're applying, and can be a really nice alternative to passive participation in things. I don't know if it was my own reluctance to join in the dramatizations, but I know that I particularly found role play to be very, very challenging for me. I really disliked, stepping into that play role, and was finding that as a less outgoing person, that actually a lot of my cognitive energy was focused on the role play rather than the skills that I was learning. So, and that is something that, just through a lot of feedback from participants in the different workshops, was that the role play was really, really challenging. And I started thinking about how can we still practice the skills, still be thinking about using AAC, or not AAC, but how can we think about using keyword sign in those everyday activities, practice using those skills, but without that extra cognitive effort from potentially those less outgoing people who might find role play really challenging. Because if you're working with adults, it's not something that you often do. You don't get down, and you're often not getting down and playing. So a lot of those role playing activities that we kind of talk about and use aren't always applicable. So I started trying to think about how can I be modifying my workshop to help capture some of those other people. I love the signing in songs, and I wanted to just show you briefly how I do some modifications to that. And I think I do try and include it wherever possible. People often do groan a little bit when we're talking about signing in songs, but it's great fun. There's lots of rhythm. There's lots of repetitive language, even in more adult songs, and I like it in a way as a way to talk about the flexible use of signs. So songs contain lots of really huge varieties of language, and we can start thinking about what is the message behind this and what sign can we use that we already know. And often signs are full of known language. So especially if it's a quite catchy song, people already know the words, so they're not necessarily having to think up new ones. Although I do get quite a mix, and sometimes some songs that I think people would know, people have never heard before. It is quite challenging to find songs that are do have a good concentration of vocab, but the songs that I have used frequently and I do quite like are Katy Perry's Roar, which I did not know that the previous presentation would be talking about. If you're looking around Christmas, a lot of Christmas songs are actually really, really great. A lot of mainstream Christmas songs are actually really great. Yeah. So an example of how I've done that is if we take Katy Perry's Roar, we can talk about the use of natural gesture. A lot of people do like to do actions to songs, even if they don't know the words. So I really like talking to people about how we can incorporate that natural gesture into the signs that we're doing. And an example of how we can think about the meaning of the lyrics and how they apply to the maybe signs that we already know is an example of in the second verse, I think. Get ready because I've had enough. Start talking about, what does that mean? And when someone says I've had enough, what they, I'm finished. So can we think about using the sign finished for, yep, we've had enough, yep, we're finished now. So thinking about how we can incorporate some of those signs that we already know. It is also a really good opportunity to talk to people about how many signs they might be using in their in a sentence or in a phrase, because the great thing about songs is it just moves on. That it doesn't wait for you. You can't do a really weird lots of breaks in between your words. So talking about how many signs we can be thinking about including. So that's just an example of how I've used Katy Perry's Roar. The big thing that I like talking to people is activity planning. So throughout my workshops, I will, and when I'm talking to people, I will talk about the use of that kind of word of the week or a word focus. So we've got a word and how can we use it across a huge range of times during the day. But what I found really helpful also is activity planning. So thinking about not just a single word, but thinking about a focus activity and really bombarding that activity with lots of signs. And that can be a nice way to incorporate both, or it can be a nice pairing to a keyword sign of the week, also having a bit of a focus of an activity. And so what I'm doing with that one is instead of doing like a play-based activity, what I try and do is get people to think about an activity that they do with the people that they work with. And some things that people often do is, regardless of whether you work with kids or adults, is everyone eats. Everyone can be involved in reading, whether that's a magazine, whether that's a newspaper, whether that's a book. Everyone is engaged in community activities. Everyone's engaged in self-care, personal care. Everyone transitions between activities. So I try and use those generic kind of activities so that people can start thinking about, oh, well, I work with someone who eats or is involved in meal times. I can start to incorporate these. Or, oh, the person that I work with enjoys reading. We can read rather than just reading books or playing with pretend toys, engaging in pretend activities. what I try and do is challenge people to make comments, because I really like using this as an opportunity to discuss the real imbalance of questions and comments within conversations with people with complex communication needs, and the importance of thinking actively about using more comments wherever possible. And I think try and get people to think about using words that can be used at any time or any time that activity happens. So rather than just when we're, cooking butter chicken, but also any time that we're eating, any time that we're breaking for meals. And I find this a really nice opportunity to get people to start thinking about using the signs and using their own language. And I have found a much higher, much more engagement in the planning and the planning activities when people don't have to worry about the added cognitive effort of, playing and performing that interaction. So it has been a really positive change, I think, especially when I'm working with people who are going to be supporting adults. A lot of what I take, I really value the assistive wear core word classroom, because it can be a really helpful tool from, and it's kind of where I took a lot of the ideas from the different activities, but also this activity in general. And getting people to think about both core words and potentially some fringe words as well. This gives people an opportunity to think about all sorts of different language functions. And this is what I will give people as an example. I will give people an example of the sign and a sentence that includes that sign. So that's kind of what I give people to help produce it. And that's kind of the end of that. It is I'm happy to take questions, or if anyone has any comments, I'm happy to do that.
We've got about 2 minutes left, so if people want to just raise their hand if they've got a question that you think might be answered in 2 minutes. Thanks very much. That was great, Ashley. Anyone there got any questions?
No. Oh, hand up from Teena.
I was really clear. I have no questions.
Ashley, I'd like to ask what you do for the adults that you support who have signs that are different to the signs that are currently being used now. I know that you said that you model the correct sign back to them, but do you document their use of sign at all?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Wherever possible, trying to use a bit of a communication dictionary for them. If they do have access to technology, one of my colleagues actually had some little QR codes that she developed so that people could access them on the phone and have the video. I'm not at that point, but it's something that I've constantly got in the back of my head. So yeah, some sort of communication dictionary, whether that's printed or electronic.
Great question, Teena, and great response. I think, and QR codes are a very interesting concept, don't they? I think there's opportunities to explore how they can actually support that kind of dynamic communication of keyword sign. Okay, so thank you so much. We'll go on to our next. I'll introduce our next presenter. Oh, there's another question there. We've got a minute to go. That's okay. Okay, good. So I'd like to introduce now Cathy Basterfield, and Cathy's going to be speaking to us about, let's see if I can find out what that is, building awareness of natural gesture in a keyword sign workshop and other sorts of AAC training. And Cathy is based in Victoria and has been a presenter of keyword sign for over 30 years. She's regularly presented workshops for many years to a wide variety of audiences, which is a reflection of her clinical practice. Cathy's been involved in the committee in Victoria for more than 20 years, including those years when there was a transition from Makaton to keyword sign. So been involved in that journey for a long time. And she's also been involved in the development of a number of resources over the years as author and editor and the launch of the footy book. So welcome, Cathy.
Thanks very much, Cathy, and it's wonderful to see so many people here on this Sunday morning, at least in Melbourne. It's a very cool day. It might be sunny, but it's cold outside, so it's a much better place to be is here. Okay, I've popped up a screen. We're just going to have a look at a couple of slides to get ourselves started, because what we're actually going to do is a bit of the activity that I do in a workshop. And so I'm going to actually be looking for about 8 volunteers to put your hand up in a few moments to actually run through this. Cathy, can you give me a warning at about 14 minutes, please? So we've got time for questions afterwards. So this particular activity came about because I was getting people coming in their workshops were constantly asking me, oh, what's the sign for I? And what's the sign for you? Or what's the sign for, it's a natural gesture. Just think about your natural gesture. And it didn't matter how much time we sort of went through and had a look at, say, the natural gesture in the little red book in the grey section. It didn't really seem to gel for people. The other thing that I'd also been trying lots of different ways about was thinking about the different pragmatic functions that we're encouraging people to engage with when they're using sign. Like Nicola said this morning, just like Ashley mentioned here, that we want to get beyond naming. And one of the things that people always want when they come to workshops, of course, is that thing of what's the sign for table? What's the sign for spaghetti? What's the sign for? It's like, I'm not going to give you all those signs, but do we actually have a natural gesture for it? So some of you might recognise this particular slide here, which is in the presenter pack. It's one of the ones that I was involved in creating for the presenter pack, thinking about how do we expand people's idea and thinking about what it is that we do and how much natural gesture is part of the community. And so I will actually show this slide as part of the presentation as introducing natural gesture. And a natural gesture is as important as the signs that people use. And as Nicola's research has shown too, that even if a parent has got one sign, they've also got at their fingertips, they've got this natural gesture, they've walked in with it. We need to be enhancing it so much more to not just to remind them, but just to build their knowledge that, oh my goodness, this is what it actually does. So I sometimes have this up, certainly when I'm doing face-to-face, you can do that much more easily. For many of them, I will also show the little video of Libby reading this particular book, which is The Itchy Bear. And what it really starts to highlight for people is how much she can read of this little book, but so much of it is actually keyword sign. So much of it, sorry, is a natural gesture, and there's so little that we need to be thinking about with the with actually what's the sign for, because there's lots of stuff here we can do. So what we're actually going to do is the bit of the activity that I do in a training event, in a training workshop. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask for about 8 people to have their camera on and to have their microphones unmuted. Otherwise, this will take forever to do. And you're going to be my pretend participants in my workshop. So for those of you who would like to do that, that would be awesome.
Just a reminder that this is being recorded, so you might be on video later, but nobody will judge you.
No. And those, if you've never been to a workshop before, you're here as a parent or a teacher, please don't feel like you can't join. In fact, I'd love to have you. We don't have to have presenters up doing this task because we often see quite different things and think about different things as individuals before we've actually done any training. So
can you please raise your hand if you want to be a volunteer, and I will. Yeah, thanks, Emily. I'm going to add a spotlight so we can all see you a little bigger.
Okay.
Jen, Ashana, Sandra, thanks, guys.
Lovely. Now, what I would normally do is actually put up just a blank piece of paper and say to them, I will send you this. Now, if we're doing it face-to-face, it might be on a whiteboard. We'll take a photo of it afterwards, because I don't want people using their time just writing down notes. This is their opportunity to learn and to think. Now, for some reason, I can't share and also see your photo, your pictures. So if someone would delightfully just start writing down some or just typing in some of the words that we're coming up with, that's really going to help us. So what I'm going to do is just go through. We're going to have just a few minutes to do this, and we're going to be writing down all the different words that we've got. So I usually start with something that's away from a kinder environment, if I'm doing it in a kinder environment, but it connects really well when you're working with adults and support staff, because there's often a big cohort. So I'll go, well, natural gesture happens around us all the time, and we're often not aware that this is what we're doing. So what we're going to do is try and find all the different natural gesture that we already know, but it has to be things that pass the pub test. Okay, so it's not.
Ashana and Sandra to turn your cameras on so we can see you, and then everyone who have spotlighted, Emily, Ashana, Sandra, Jen, Penny, and Ashley, unmute yourselves so we can hear you.
Excellent.
Good to go.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Chloe. So we start with who is it's got to pass the pub test, which means that if you do this, the blokes in the pub are going to look at you really weirdly. Okay, so that's not going to pass the pub test. This is. Okay. And so we might write down the word cigarette, we might write down smoker, we might write down having a fag, whatever it is, depending on the group that you're working with, which fits that cohort. From there, I'm now going to open it up to my workshop and say, okay, guys, what natural gesture can you think of? Remember, it's got to pass the pub test. Who's got some ideas? Yep.
Get a drink.
Get a drink. Lovely. A drink. Great. Yep. Next one.
Something to eat.
Something to eat. Okay, now we've got to be really careful. This is our sign. Is this going to pass the pub test? Not really. Okay, it may for some people, but really that's our sign, isn't it? That's a specific thing that we've learned. But this, you probably find you get this a lot. Yep, what else?
Maybe look.
Look, yeah, okay, we're going to look at something. Yep, okay. What else?
I ask my husband a lot, where are you going?
Yeah, where are you going? So we've got this action. Okay, all right, but do we always say where are we going? What else might it be if it's where are you going?
What are you doing?
What are you doing? Okay, I don't understand. It's used for a lot of those spaces. So we've got this one here that means a whole lot of potential things. It might be our face that does that. Yep, what else might there be?
I'm thinking if someone's quite particularly good looking,
yep.
You know, a bit of meaningful eye looking and like.
Ooh, yep, okay, they're a bit hot. Yep, okay, lovely. Keep going.
What about waving hello?
Hello, yep. What would you use for hello? What's the natural gesture? Hello, okay. And if it's goodbye?
Hi.
Hi, okay. We've got both of them here. Yep. What else do we have?
Come over here. Maybe.
Okay, so come here. Okay, so come here. So I'll just stand back so you can see. Let's come here. Come here. Okay, that's a natural gesture that we all have at our fingertips. Yep, what else do we have?
Maybe if it's a bit loud in the space, like, oh,
yep.
Gee whiz, it's loud in here.
Okay, yeah. It's loud. Yep. And what might you say to just put it down or be quiet? Yep. Shh. Yep. Be quiet. Be quiet. So it's too loud. Be quiet. Yep. What else?
You might also indicate where you're going. So
yep.
I'm going to go over there or meet you over there.
Okay, over there. And if we've got over there, what else have we got?
Here.
Yeah. Here. And what else do we have? There.
There. Yep.
This. Yeah. That. And then we've got this thing that points, doesn't it? And even Nicola was mentioning about that this morning. We've got pointing at anything we want to talk about things. Yep. What else do we have that's natural gesture?
Go.
What was that one?
Go.
Go. Okay. What's a natural gesture for go? Okay, go. And you have people that go and they, oh yeah, go away, go away. Yeah, that's right. Yep, tell them to go away. So we've got go away as something that we've got. Yep. Now we might then as presenters go, actually that's really close to the sign, but yep, absolutely. If you can't remember the sign for go because we've taught it to you, Here's a natural gesture. Go away. We do get lots of flicking. Now, I might start to put in some suggestions about ideas around, we're struggling to find some words. What about, or some concepts, what about some things about how I feel?
Hot.
Hot. Okay, what's a natural gesture for hot? Yep, wipe your brow. Yep, pull your jumper. Yep, what else do we have? If it's
Like
not
cold.
hot, cold. And some people actually do this, which we know is pretty close to the sign. Yep. What other feelings do we have?
Sad.
Sad. What's a natural gesture for sad? Sad, crying. Yep.
Yeah.
What
Like
else?
frustrated.
Frustrated. Oh, yep.
Feeling sick. You might
Feeling
be like
sick.
touching, like you're touching your tummy. Oh.
Yep. Tummy's feeling a bit sick.
Maybe a headache.
Oh, a headache. Okay, so we've got frustrated. We've got headache. All helping with our body language and our facial expression as well. So we'd go through a whole range of that. We might talk about descriptive things. How do we say something is big? It's big. And everyone does that. You don't have to learn a sign to know that. We talk about, what about strong? Okay, great. Then I might move into things like, what about, as Ashley said, self-care, getting up in the morning. What is some natural gesture for getting up in the morning? Oh, just woken up. All right, guys, I know it's early over in WA, but what else do we do in the morning?
Like brush your hair.
Brush your hair, rub your eyes, wakey, wakey. You clean your teeth. Lovely. So you've got all the different bits there. So we would go through a whole range of things in that space. You can see I'm racing through all these different areas. We also then might look at animals. What animals do we know that are actually natural gesture?
Birds. Oh.
Birds. Oh, right. Cow. Well, I think cow, not really going to pass your pub test, but that one. Okay, cow. Yeah. What animals do we have? Yep, we've got this one. What one were you calling that, Emily?
Like a bull, probably.
Okay.
Probably could go for cow as well. Yep. I don't know.
What else do we have as animals? Think about in kindy.
I think the dog sign is actually a natural gesture for me.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. What else?
Maybe like a cat.
Oh, pussycats. Yes. What else?
Rabbit.
Rabbit. What's the rabbit one? Oh, rabbit. What about Mr. Peter Rabbit? Mr. Peter Rabbit heard a fly upon his nose. Whoosh! Oh, there's another natural gesture. What else do we have?
Big.
Big.
Yeah. Pig.
Okay, but what about thinking about some more animals?
Snake.
Snake. Yep. What might be a natural gesture? Yep. Just lift your hand so everyone can see. Yep. What else?
Maybe a mosquito.
A mosquito. Oh, maybe. Not sure I've seen that one before. What about a butterfly?
Yeah.
Butterfly. So that's close to our sign, but you know, this is what we use. People talk about fish. What about monkey? What about elephant? There's lots and lots of natural gesture of animals. Musical instruments. Come on.
Violin.
Musical instruments. The violin, piano, the guitar. Okay, we can keep going. There's lots and lots there. Okay. What about some more emotions?
Tired.
Angry.
Angry, yep. Or stamping your feet, hitting the wall, yep. Walking out in disgust, yes. Okay, what else? What else might there be?
Excited.
Let's go back into a kindergarten. Inside play, outside play, all the different things that happen in a kindergarten. What do? You go to the toilet, you have to
Wash your hands.
wash your hands. What else happens in the toilet environment? We say, put down your pants. We say, pull up your pants. We say, wipe your bottom.
Just giving you a heads up, Cathy.
Great, thank you. So there's lots and lots and lots there. Thanks, guys. So this is really a quick run through. I might spend 20 minutes going through all of this part of information, because what we actually do at the end of that is then go back and have a look at all the language that we've created and we've listed. And lo and behold, we've got every sort of language we need to have a conversation. So, well, I might go, well, we've got social things, we've got actions. We haven't even talked about digging and climbing and running and all those sorts of things that you have at kinder and everywhere else. We'll show them that they can actually use them. In some groups, I will then, okay, off we go and have a conversation. See what else you might appear with. And so some people will actually do things like, oh, I walked up to one young man one day and his glasses were filthy in their session. I said, oh, your glasses, let's take them off. Let's clean them. And so another natural gesture. All these ones we're just not aware of. So going through that, I sometimes read Where's Spot as another example of how very quickly they've got the skills and the capacity. The long-term effect is that when they come back to a second session, they're all really, really aware now of their natural gesture and are using it and really aware of that spontaneous use that they have. So when we start combining language with the signs, they're very automatically starting to add in the natural gesture with a sign. So they're not looking for two signs. They're often looking for things like I want, whatever it is. So immediately they can sign with 3 words, I want drink, because you're using 2 natural gestures and a brand new sign. Okay. And I've seen that again and again that happens, that is one of the, leaving them with, we haven't learnt anything new. I'm just bringing it up to the beginning and the forefront of our world and making sure we use it. And that's what many of them talk about at the end of the 2 sessions. So thanks for listening. Thanks for participating, Emily and Jen and Ashley and Penny and Sandra and Ashana. Happy to take some questions.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Cathy. So some people have got their hands up already from that previous exercise, but if anyone's got any questions, can you just raise your hands? So in your little bar, there's a hand there. You can just press on it.
There's someone in the 93.
Ashana,
well, we just,
yeah.
Yep.
Just a quick question, Cathy. You mentioned you might spend about 20 minutes in your workshop sort of running through natural gestures. Do you find that's enough time? Because I probably spend a bit too much time on natural gesture and then I'm madly scrambling to get through, you know, sort of the rest of the presentation. So I'm just wondering if you've got any tips for balancing it.
Well, what I find is when I do natural gesture, and in fact, I'll often spend longer than that because what I'm actually doing is bedding down a lot of stuff around language modelling and different pragmatic functions. So those bits that you might have put into other parts of your presentation are actually all being covered through this one activity. And so I will actually spend more time here, and particularly with adults. And teaching and working in adult environments because they are even less, they're more reticent, to actually, I can't remember anything. So encouraging them to go away with, you've already got all this stuff, and just arms them with confidence to then build on the actual signs. Yeah. And we keep coming back to it all the way through. Yeah.
Thank you.
There was another question. Someone else has got their hand up in all those people.
That's Ruth Rogers. You have a question, Ruth?
Yes. Well, I guess a comment, because what I wanted to say was it's great to hear somebody else also celebrating natural gesture. And when I run the courses, particularly when I run them annually with parents, by including them in some of the fun activities, I think they also feel like, oh, I've got this, I can remember this, and it's something I naturally do. And I think that improves their self-confidence. And so when I incorporate it into the Signese whispers or into some of the reviews that we do of all the signs, in fact, I also include, besides the basic vocabulary, of course, some of these natural gestures. I think it's really good for those mums and family members to feel good about themselves and to feel like, oh, I can do this, I'm signing.
Yeah. And particularly also when you have grandparents in groups, you know, that they also really struggle with that whole idea of I've got to learn a whole lot of signs, and that's what we're all going to come away with. Actually, no, these are the things you're using. Let's celebrate what you're using. Yep.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Cathy. That's really wonderful. It's great to, as you said, Ruth, just to celebrate how much natural gesture can actually contribute and how important it is, especially for building that confidence. So on to our next session, and that's going to be presented by Ruth, who's actually already just been speaking, and Tracey Richards and Teena Caithness, who are going to be talking to us.
I think they're going to introduce themselves as well.
Oh, okay. And I'll just leave it to you in that case. Welcome. I'm looking forward to this session.
Thank you so much, Cathy. Hello, and welcome to our session on sign choirs. Keyword Sign has been a significant part of our two guests' lives. They've created environments in where keyword sign and natural gesture flourishes in schools. And in those school settings, it's been an absolute passion for both of them. Now, both come from New South Wales, but I'll let them tell you all about their lives and their passion. Let's get to know Tracey and Ruth and how they've supported and encouraged sign choirs. Welcome, Tracey and Ruth. Now, Tracey, question one, tell us a little bit about your interest in keyword sign and where you work.
Okay, so I work at a support school, a specific purposes school, SSP, in Mount Druitt. So we work with severe to moderate disability students. We have about 120 students at our school, all with severe to moderate learning disabilities, but they also have a lot of other disabilities underlying as well, autism, behavioural, physical disabilities. And so we use keyword sign to support their communication. So it's been really effective in supporting their communication. And I think you said why I did the signing choir. So about 12 years ago, when I came to the school, there was already a teacher doing the signing choir, and she was doing it really well. But she went on leave, and I'd been part of her joining in her classes. So I kind of took over and then continued doing signing choir, and I just love it so much. I think I love it because it is such an engaging program for the students. They really enjoy it. They're learning their keyword signs easily, quickly, in an environment that is meaningful for them and authentic. And yeah, I just love seeing their faces. I love seeing them perform. I think that's my favourite.
And we're going to see them in the afternoon session, aren't we, Tracey, when you're going to run a session on and teach signs and a particular song to everyone, which is fabulous. Now, Ruth, you've had a long history in being interested in keyword sign. When did that start?
When I was about 20, which is many years ago, unfortunately. And as you can tell from my accent, I'm originally from the UK, though, you know, don't hold it against me. And back when I did my undergraduate degree, which was a 4-year degree in severe and profound intellectual impairment, we had to do some studies in the community. And so we started going into what were then the mental hospitals and places of residence for people who had presented with an intellectual impairment over the years. And there was this whole shift internationally, but certainly it happened during the early 80s in the UK, of getting people out of these institutions. And as part of that, Margaret Walker, along with 2 colleagues, set up Marketing, and she came along to talk at my university in order for us to have that full understanding of equipping people who had never had a communication system. And I was sitting there like, wow. And it sowed a seed that has just germinated and grown. And in the UK, I went on to do British Sign Language. And then I emigrated 20 years ago and I constantly have to question myself at times, particularly for those signs that I use less frequently, and just think, oh, was that British or is that Auslan? So in coming here, I have embraced Auslan. And I did the presenter training in 2015 at Penrith, which was a fabulous course, 3.5 days, as I recall. And I've also done completed Cert 2 in Auslan, purely for my own interest, and also to have an understanding of culture and to sort of add to my repertoire of signs, but also to establish that I've got good hand shape and things.
Now, is your school similar to Tracey's school?
Yes, doesn't sound as big. So I'm the principal. We have 12 classes of severe and moderate intellectual disability, roughly classes of 6 students with a teacher and SLSO. And we also have a tutorial centre on site, which is for mainstream students who are disengaged from learning. So yeah, very similar. It's called School for Specific Purposes, or used to be called that in New South Wales. So a special school from age, I think the youngest we can take is 3 years, 10 months, but roughly age 4 through to age 18.
Okay, let's now shift gears. We're going to think about the songs that you select in both schools. Let's talk about your repertoire and how you choose a song. Let's hear from you, Tracey, because I know that your repertoire is extensive. How do you select a song for your school?
Okay, so I mostly work with the high school students to begin with. So for me, one of the most important things is age-appropriate songs. So you'll rarely see me playing the Wiggles or anything like that, simply because I've got the high school students. So I have to look at things that they're interested in. I look at the speed of the song because there's only so many signs I can use. So it has to be a slow enough song, but I don't want them falling asleep in it and being bored. So, there's a really high balance. I really try finding songs that have some kind of meaning. So you'll notice that a lot of my songs talk about you've got a friend in me, trying, being kind, lifting each other up, leaning on me. So all of those things that have meaning. And then I'll look at songs that that might be related to the topics that we're doing. And so by the time you take all of those things into consideration, it's very limited. I do find, however, if I do find a song that the kids really, really like and it's so quick or there's so many signs or I can't understand the words, I might just do the chorus. And I tend to do that with a lot of my songs anyway. I don't tend to do the whole song. There's very few songs that I've done the whole song. Audacity is a free program where you can cut and paste, and it's normally the first verse, the chorus, and then repeat the chorus. And that way, most of the songs are only about 2 minutes, which is a perfect attention step.
And you don't have that awkward dance break where you're trying to do something in the awkward dance break of the song, which is fabulous.
Air guitaring. They do like air guitar. If there's an opportunity to air guitar, those kids will do it. And so I think that's what, and the other thing that's important to me is giving the students choice. So often I'll put up a song and I'll say thumbs up or thumbs down, and I'll give them a vote. And, if majority say thumbs up, then we'll try it. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. You just go, okay, no, that song's not working, and try again. So,
do you do something similar, Ruth, or is it autocratic at your school and you decide the songs?
No, sometimes we've been intrigued by some of the national things that have come out. So from the UK, they did the carpool karaoke for Down syndrome awareness. And so we've sort of embraced some of those, and we found that they've used great songs. So in presenting them to the kids, and new song, we're going to do some new singing and new signing. And we've just found that generally people have also chosen quite catchy songs. We also do things like Matty B. Rap's version of True Colours, rather than Cyndi Lauper's, because that was used in a bit of online advertisement for inclusivity. And so it was being embraced by special settings, and it was like, oh, we could do that, So sometimes we've just been inspired through, somebody will come in and say, oh, Down syndrome have put out a new carpool karaoke, and so the inspirations come from them, and sort of just hearing the lyrics of some songs. It is hard to choose because you've got to be so careful about some of the explicit language used in some songs, but also the popularity. Yeah.
We've also heard from other presenters this morning about songs that are popular, and from across Australia, in Western Australia, in Victoria and New South Wales. There is a song I know that you share, Ruth, with those other schools. And what song is it?
Well, it could either be Katy Perry's Raw, or it's going to be You've Got a Friend in Me. They both seem really popular. We have a folder. I could kick myself for not bringing it home with me. And I had every intention, but, you're not Fridays alike. And we actually use a folder and don't use any inserts in between it. So it's a pre-loved A4 folder, and we actually use the cover itself and have the PCS symbols on Velcro within it. So we say, you know, choose a song and we will sign it, and all the songs are represented. So the students feel they have some control, and certainly we see that they have their favourites. And we know that certain students always choose the same songs, but that's okay. And that's our repertoire. So for those days where you need to go over a song a couple of times, or you've got some, you know, incident happening at school, you can just sort of control how many of them you're managing. When we introduce a new song, as we did in term 1 this year, we just always begin with that before we use the folder. So the expectation is that when we include a new song, because we find the students would never choose the new song because they're finding it harder and they've not embraced it. So we introduce the new song, and then we go into opening the folder and say, choose a song and we will sign it, and go from there.
And I think both schools, I think at Halinda, Tracey, you're using a very particular way to make contact with your students and introduce new songs to them. What are you using?
So at the moment, we have a signing. We use Google Sites, and my IT manager has actually created a signing room. And so we actually record the songs. Well, I do, and a couple of other teachers record the songs, and we put them on there. So that way the students can practice through the week and see the recorded songs. And I've had a couple of teachers come up to me, especially during the COVID time, and say it's been really good. It's a familiar song, familiar person signing it. It's not just YouTube. And so the students have really appreciated it. So we've got that signing room page, and then we've got, we have the choices as well. I have an interactive whiteboard program that is on the shared drive, and it has all the songs, whether the student will pick it by going up to the board and picking it, or I've printed out the front page if they can't go up to the board, and they can select it and they can choose the song as well. So
all right,
let's
run through the songs. You've both got the Australian National Anthem, and you've got A Friend in Me. Ruth, you've got Roar. I know you've got Galumph because I've done a little Googling and I found you on YouTube, Tracey. So Halinda School's there. But Ruth, what else have you got in your
We've
selection?
got Big Yellow Taxi by Counting Crows. We've got Perfect by Ed Sheeran. Count on Me by Bruno Mars. One Call Away by Charlie Puth. 1,000 Years by Christina Perri. What a Wonderful World, Louis Armstrong. Advanced Australia Fair. True Colours, but it's the specific Matty B rap version. I Still Call Australia Home from the Qantas advert. We use that particular one, the Australian Children's Choir. Dancing Queen by ABBA. This Is Me from The Greatest Showman. We Are the Champions from Queen. And then we also do the Acknowledgement of Country.
Fantastic. We'll get to that just next. Tracey, add yours to the list. What else have you got? And we know you've got nursery rhymes galore for the younger ones. We know that, and I think Julia runs those. So what other ones have we got?
So I think my kid's favourite is One Thing by One Direction. So Stand By Me, No Matter What, from Boyzone is also my favourite. Born to Be Somebody, so Justin Bieber. A really favourite song is Proud by Heather Small. It was the song for the Olympics. Hey Brother is a definite one, and they love that one, and we use the key signs for brother and sister, so they really do like that. Hard Day's Night, When You Believe by Whitney Houston. Born to Try and Try Everything by Shakira. I've Got My Mind Set on You, Together We Are One. Dance Monkey is one of their favourites at the moment. A Million Dreams, You Are the Reason, Stand By Me, Never Gonna Give You Up. Did I say that one? Oh, and recently we've started learning You're the Voice by Mitch Tamba, and the reason we did that is I was doing I'm Australian, which had the Aboriginal language in it. There's a version by ABC. And while I was doing that, one of my students actually spoke about that they were from the same tribe as Mitch Tambo. And so and that he had done You're the Voice. So we're doing You're the Voice, but with that version in the background. So that's been pretty exciting because it's relating to one of my students.
How exciting is that? So I think we can agree there's a rich variety of songs, that can suit any situation, that are going to keep the interest in the students and are certainly not stuck in being considered inappropriate, infantile or not current and contemporary for the students that they're working with. When I'm going to shifting gears, if you're choosing signs and natural gesture to suit the lyrics, and we know that that's going to be challenging and time consuming, how do you do it? Ruth, I'd like you to talk about the acknowledgement of country that you worked on with your local AECG.
Yes, we have a very small population of people who present at our school of Aboriginality, 2 members of staff and well, we did have 3 students and 1 passed away this year. But we felt that we should reflect our local Indigenous area. And so we worked respectfully with someone to actually develop it and use language that was more appropriate for our students. Are you able to share it, Teena, or shall I do my best to... So we include this in our packs when we send them home to families when we have new enrolments, which often are at kindy, but it can be at any point. And so it's a 2-pager, and we laminate it and pop it in their packs because we feel this is appropriate. So they're the signs that we use. And then the second page, if you're able to scroll down, Teena, and these are the words that we use. And we've decided that we did still continue with the word respect, and we had to include that because we couldn't get around or find another appropriate word. So we chose the words like, remember, people, land, work, live. We did choose respect, and then we chose Aboriginal peoples as one sign, and then the past or history, now, and into the future. And so we, as it says at the bottom there, this was approved in consultation with Steve Trist, and that was done in November 2020. He came out to our school because it's also important to engage with Aboriginal peoples on the land. And so we just said the reasoning behind, and he thought it was great because he could see that we'd made an attempt to keep it authentic, but we'd also tried to be fully inclusive. And he asked for a copy because he said, I would just love to share this with people. And yeah, it's been really good. And it's something that we do regularly.
Just letting people know that there's 2 minutes to go before the end of this session.
Okay.
Teena, I'm not sure if you're talking, but you're muted.
Okay, I'm just struggling to close the page. I think I've done it. Oh, phew. All right. So that's thank you, and thank you for telling us how you collaborated and the decisions that you made. It's quite wise. We're just going to talk about quickly. This is the rapid fire section of today. We're going to be thinking about how do you get your students to participate in sign choir. So let's start with you, Tracey. What is the commitment of your students?
We come to signing choir practice every week, which is in my classroom. We make it fun. We play a few games. So I might have on the board different coloured fish swimming, and I'll be saying, look for the yellow fish, you know, and I'll keyword sign it or sign it rather than saying the word, and then they have to run up and find it. We might I'll pick the songs from the board. After a couple of songs, I might play a game of who's going to sign it first.
Now,
So
will you go into this in your session in the afternoon, Tracey? Will you mention a little more about this?
I can go in, so that's
fantastic. So if people are wanting to know how engaging Tracey is, they might like to go to the afternoon session. Now, Ruth, you've been very prescriptive and you've given us some fundamentals of signing choir. So what we might do is share that with Libby Brownlee. We might end up having that. I won't share it on the screen, but I'd like to know, do you think there are benefits of choirs, of signed choirs, Ruth?
Oh, fabulous. The students themselves have been really engaged. We run it through clubs in the lunch times. We run clubs. We run 2 half-hour clubs during our lunch breaks. So students have all eaten in class generally because they're still learning to manage packaging and things. So during this very long break, we started introducing clubs, of which signing choir is really popular. So the students have to want to be there. And if we feel that students are not engaged, they don't have to stay, but we'd like them to know what they're rejecting if their teachers put them forward for it. And we actually currently have one student who's never signed yet, but she thoroughly enjoys coming along. She enjoys being included. She's an elective mute, and so she's obviously selective about when she uses words. I have heard her speak.
Fantastic.
But,
now, I have to cut you short because we're at 20 past. So thank you to Tracey and Ruth. You've been wonderful in this Q&A. It's a session filled with just wisdom and your shared knowledge and experience. We thank you and we wish you all the very best for you and also for your choirs in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to everyone who's contributed to the session today. Look forward to seeing many more wonderful sharing of knowledge across the day. There's a 15-minute break now, and get ready to come back at 11:45 Victorian time to hear for the Lived Experience Forum. So I look forward to seeing some of you there. Thanks a lot. Bye, everybody.